Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Doodle Robot, and today we're going to look at specifically the new Arttx acrylic marker set. We're going to compare them to other acrylic marker sets. I've got the Ohuhu acrylic marker sets, which I've had for a year, and I just re-swatched, and I'll tell you what happened to them over a year. Do they still work? All that sort of thing. I also got my new, because I just had a haul, hopefully you all saw that, my new Posca paint pens. They're the industry standard, so we're gonna talk about the three sets of markers. I have already started my new swatch sheet here. I've been re-swatching all my stuff for a little while. I'm gonna finish that this summer. I've already done the Posca pens, and my results with the Posca pens were this mess here. So every time I shook them up and pressed them, to get the ink flowing or the paint flowing, they made a huge blot on the paper, which I spread out a few of them, some I just left. But every single one of them, except like two, I think, maybe two, didn't do it. I then had to I didn't want to waste paint, so I just I scooped it up and painted it on there. So these probably look a little bit smoother than the Ohuhu acrylic paint pens. But those are brand new, so I feel like, I don't recall this happening with other Posca pens. I only have the black and white, but I feel like maybe they either filled them up too much, and so when you do the first depression of the nib, you get that splash of it, that explosion of color on your paper. Or maybe it's because, they came on a plane, and you know how when you go high, you get that, your shampoo bottles explode and stuff like that. So I don't know why that would be. Sometimes my acrylic paint pens do that to a much lesser extent, but of course they're older. My Ohuhus. So I swatched all of my Ohuhus after a year. They all still work. We have a casualty here. I think the paint inside the pen dried out. We'll talk a little bit about that more, but they all still work. And I did change the nib. One got all dried out, so I changed the nib on this green one. I can't remember what color that was. Possibly 29. And here's this kind of aged gold one. I couldn't get that working. I tried to change the nib. I think it's something. Whoa. Okay, we lost that nib. That one's gone. I tried to change the nib out in it, but I think the paint inside has dried a little bit. And changing the nib's really easy. I think the way that acrylic paint pens work, I don't think the ink flows through the nib. I think it flows on the outside and down, would be my guess. I don't think it actually goes through the nibs. I think there's little grooves in the little nib. It looks like, I probably should have got a naked one out for you, but it looks like filament, and it looks like it just goes, yeah, because it doesn't look like there's any inside the thing. I think it just goes along the outside, which is interesting. I did perform surgery on the paint pen that dried out. I performed all kinds of surgery on it. You can actually take these apart. To replace the nib, all you do is, okay, now I've lost the other nib. All you do is just take the one out. You're going to get paint on you, or use a needle nose pliers or something and pop this one back in. It's really simple, but you can take these apart, and I took it apart. I performed surgery on it with a toothpick. I tried everything. I stuck the toothpick down in here because I thought maybe that was clogged. I think the paint has just gotten too thick, and it's interesting that it would happen with the metallic, because I feel like most acrylic metallics are thicker than regular acrylic paint. Okay, I have paint on me now. But anyways, so that was the only casualty. After a year, they all still work. And some I haven't used at all in a year. And some I've used a lot. Like these light ones here, I've used a lot. I can't remember which purple I used on a recent picture. I used a whole bunch. I had to change that nib. So I've only changed out 2 nibs. This color, which I think is that color, and the purple that I did a few days ago, a week or so ago. Okay, so I gotta say that after a year that they're all still working now. I did shake them all up so that I could re-swatch them on my new swatch here. And now, you know, with paint pens, they have the little ball inside that you need to shake. So if it's been sitting there for a year, it may get stuck. And I've heard some people say, oh, the balls got stuck and I couldn't shake it anymore. But I was able to shake 100% of these, and I'll tell you the trick on getting the ball unstuck. I'm going to scoot you in a little bit. I have just a plastic folding table that I work on. And if you hit, I'm going to make a noise, if you hit it against the table with torque, now you can't hit it like this, you've got to have torque when you hit it. If you hit that, you know, over and over, going to sound like somebody's knocking at the door, but if you hit that, it will loosen the ball and then you'll be able to shake it. So that is a tip for those of you I've heard people complain that they didn't like the Ohuhus because of that. The ball got stuck, but the same thing happens in spray paint cans, and it's just one of those things with paints that have the little balls in there to shake them up. So I'm pretty pleased that, you know, the Ohuhu are still going strong after a year. I haven't run out of any, not that I use them a lot, mostly it's just for little tiny details and stuff. Although in some instances I have given them a good run for their money, a few colors, but... So there we have kind of my wrap-up of Posca and Ohuhu acrylic paint pens. I've already done it a little bit. I've lost that paper. Okay, here it is. Here with the Artix, which is what I'm going to swatch, and then I'm going to say my impressions. You can see where I did all the dabbing. With the Artix, you don't have to do that. You just open the lid and start going, but you can already see some preliminary results. People are saying they're opaque, but in some cases they are opaque. There are a lot that just don't look opaque to me. You can see them right there on the sheet of paper. That does not look opaque. I see streaks. So I'm gonna switch over to where I swatch them. And I'll probably do for the Arttix. I didn't do that for the Posca or the Ohuhu acrylic paint pens. I just did a coat. I'm going to do kind of like I do with watercolor markers and alcohol markers. I'll do one coat, and then on one side I'll do another coat. And we'll see what happens. So let's get them open before I switch over to time lapse. And take a look here. Oh, there's my nib that got lost. They come nicely packaged. I undid the plastic when I did my big haul video. Come with the little thank you card. Here is what I've seen on other videos, and I read in the comments. It says right here, it's black on black, so I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. Great coverage, odorless, water-based ink. My first impressions, just having done the little test there, is these are not acrylic paint markers. These are, if it will focus, these are probably some kind of ink. But we'll see. We'll give them a run for their money. So here's how they come packaged. You got two things. They're very pretty. I've reordered them. That's not the order they came in. They came in a nonsensical order, so I ordered them how I wanted. They are all numbered, so I don't think they have a name. I didn't see a name, and they have a brush tip to them, and they have a small nib, a detail nib. So they're two-sided. The directions say that you should store them horizontally. And that is about it. We're going to get started swatching, so I'm going to flip you over to time lapse, so it'll just be silent, and then I'll pop back on and I'll say my thoughts on, do I think they're acrylic paint markers or some kind of other ink marker? We shall see. So I'll see you in just a second. And we're back. So, what are my thoughts on the matter? Are Arttx acrylic markers really acrylic? You can zoom in and see here. They're not really opaque unless you do 2 coats. You can see the streaks there, whereas in acrylic markers, they tend to be opaque. They have a slightly different feel, but I also got out my swatch charts from the Ohuhu water-based markers and the Tombow dual brush water-based markers. And they have a similar feel. It doesn't quite feel like this, but it doesn't quite feel like this either. My summation is they're either very much watered down acrylic paints or there's some kind of thicker ink. My guess is if this marker and this marker had a baby, it would be the Artix. Or if Tombow and this marker had a baby, it would be the Artix. So I find it to be somewhere between the two. Does it bleed through on the paper? It ghosts a bit. This is cheap copy paper, like you'd find in an Amazon book. But, you know, so did the acrylic markers. And so do water-based markers. It probably ghosts. It looks like it ghosts a little bit less than the water-based markers. A smidge less. So that might put it more in the, yeah, it's maybe more watered down acrylic paint than, say, these two. Of course, Posca being the industry standard. Ohuhu is nice, though. I like them. So, yeah, I think if you're willing to put in the time and effort and go over it, you know, twice, it dries a little bit quicker than the acrylic, these acrylic paints here. But that would be because it's thinner. It's thinner. So I look forward to giving them a try and using them. It's a great option on, you know, double-sided coloring books where you don't want anything to bleed through. So, and maybe you don't want to go with super thick acrylic paint. I like acrylic paint, but I think it's an interesting option. I look forward to giving it a try, but, you know, I don't know who out there kind of said it was opaque. I don't. Only if you put multiple coats on is it opaque, so they are more transparent. All right, so that has been my kind of unboxing and test run of the Arttx. Let's get the box out for you. Oops, I'm knocking stuff around. The Arttx acrylic marker set. 32 of them. So, yeah, I don't know. I want to give them a try. Maybe someday I'll do a more thorough review, but those are my first impressions. I think there's somewhere between water-based markers and acrylic paint pens. Could be a happy medium for somebody. All right, I thank you for joining me. I appreciate your time. I hope you have a wonderful day. Live long and prosper. Bye-bye.